What is going on, DFW? We got a lot to talk about today. Mortgage rates. What in the world? When are they going to move? They really haven't, but people are moving on the mortgage stuffs more than they have been. We'll talk about that. Redfin says there's 500,000 more buyers than sellers, and once again, I'm quite confident they have no idea what they're talking about. We'll talk about why I think they're full of bull, and a big acquisition they made locally, Gibson. We'll get into that. And then Gibson, he's here for the whole ride, folks. He's going to be commenting, sharing. There'll be brilliance. There might even be a little humor. But Gibson's going to talk about some of the huge wins that buyers are having and can have in this market right now. I'm not alone in studio. I've already spilled the beans. We've got the big GA, Gibson Aguirre, the Gibbo, as some say, in studio. Welcome, Gibson.
Howdy, folks. Let's talk wins.
Did you hear that? That wasn't just a College World Series reference. That was a real estate reference. We've also got full price Courtney in studio with her typical walk-up music.
Go Tiger! Oh, unbelievable.
I knew it. I knew you were going to do it, and I muted your LSU.
Go Tigers.
You didn't even know that LSU was in the College World Series
I knew.
Until someone told you a minute ago.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I just haven't been following
it's the worst.
But I know they're there.
Listen, I have lots of friends that are LSU graduates. Courtney is one. Many of the LSU fans, as you know, are not.
Let's go, team.
Much like our Longhorn fans. But, you know, they're a good program. It's good to see them in the show.
I like that Gibby is glad they're there. I don't get to hear that.
I got to be honest. I'm not glad they're there. It makes for a good postseason when
are you
teams
jealous?
Like no, I just think that LSU fans could be more tolerable. Generally,
well, that's
baseball specifically.
I don't feel like we always win, so it's not like Alabama or something where.
This is DFW Real Estate Weekly with Todd Tremonti, and I am not.
You
alone.
want your sports
We've got a full
opinions
studio.
from full price.
We got a full studio today, and we got a full roster of things to talk about. But don't you forget. If you want to inject your topic, your question,
we want to hear from you.
Your raging anger about a bogus headline, holler at us. 214-310-0008. That's 214-310-0008. Not just a phone number, folks. We'll take the call. We'll also take the text. 214-310-0008. Lots to cover today. Let's dive right into it. We reached out to our buddy Patrick Glaros because he and his mortgage team over at ABC Bank, they bring us the first segment of every show, and they've been doing that for well over a decade. The entire history of our show. Patrick and his team of mortgage pros have been supporting the show, making sure that this show happens, educating our clients, our friends. Some would even say our fans, Courtney. You've got a little fan club brewing. But
we're a cute little club.
It's a dangerous club.
When it comes to mortgages, you just go to patrickglaros.com. He and his whole crew over at ABC Bank, which is a great local bank, by the way, will help you with it. Refinance, buying down your rate, buying a home, a lake house, an investment property, whatever the case is. Just do what I do. Call Patrick if you have any mortgage questions. That's what I've been doing for over 20 years, Courtney. Did you know that? Did you know that that's the only mortgage lender my wife and I have ever personally used?
I do know that.
It doesn't get any better. PatrickGlaros.com, Glaros. PatrickGlaros.com. NMLS number 308804. Now, Gibson, you're looking at some notes that Patrick sent over because we basically said, hey, Patrick, what's your current read on the market? You wanted to kind of paraphrase or summarize that, and we can dig into it if we need to.
Yeah, not a lot of exciting things. Pretty stagnant, which, hey, kudos to mortgage rates. We've been volatile for some time.
Hey, if anybody's held firm, it's been those unattractive mortgage rates.
Yeah, real firm.
So basically his read on that is not much different, but if they had an expectation in the future, what's it looking like that might be?
Yeah, optimistic, I think, moving downward for sure.
Okay.
And then if you're going to ask me, I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing on the market.
Which is?
Hey, we're getting a lot of seller credit to buy down rates. Buy down products are probably the most popular subject right now, whether that be the massive product of a 3-2-1.
Okay, we'll talk about what that is here in a second because Courtney immediately needs to know.
I like this is when my eyes get crossed and I'm like, thank God y'all are the expert. This is why I pay you. I don't like what the freaking buy down. Like, what does that even mean?
Okay, we're going to talk about that in just a second. So real quick, Patrick Glaros, his read on the mortgage market right now is rates are kind of flat, which means they're moving, but just not that much. A little bit up, a little bit down. It's kind of all in that high 6 range. And then he's also talking about what you're talking about, which is buy downs are more likely than they have been in a really long time. Whether it's the seller buying that rate down for you, basically the seller paying so that your mortgage rate is lower, or you could do that for yourself if you're just coming into a new mortgage, or even if you were refinancing. The other thing he mentioned is a lot of people are refinancing, even though they're not refinancing into a lower rate. They're actually refinancing out of a low rate and into a decent rate, 6 something or even 7 something. But they're doing that to be able to consolidate or get out of or lower their overall monthly budget based on other debt, whether it's a home equity line of credit, credit card debt, maybe even auto debt or some sort of consumer debt. They are seeing an increase in the number of people whose total overall household budget is more strained. And even though they may be refinancing out of a lower mortgage into a slightly higher mortgage, they're rolling in that other debt, paying off that other debt, consolidating it to just the mortgage at a current rate, but their total monthly budget is better off. Their total monthly costs have gone down, even though their mortgage rate maybe went up a little bit. So he's saying that's where a lot of the activity in the mortgage market is right now. Now, can you explain to Courtney, because occasionally on this show we do a little something called Courtney Learns Real Estate.
Hey, yo.
Hey.
So Courtney today is going to learn what a mortage rate buy down is. No, you don't need to feel like a fool. Just so everybody knows, Courtney's the one person in our office on our team, both Fort Worth and Dallas, that doesn't have a real estate license.
I got your back, guys.
There's a lot of reasons for that. One of them is she continues to be the voice and the advocate for the consumer. The buyer, the seller, the neighbor, the friend, the remodeler, all the things. So Courtney's question today, Gibson, is what in the heck is a 3-2-1?
Okay, we don't even have to go 3-2-1. We'll simplify it. 2-1.
Okay.
2 years that we're considering. First year is you get 2 points bought down from your interest rate.
So let's say you called Patrick right now, you gave him all your information. He's like, hey, 6.85%. That's the rate that you're going to get today.
So then that goes down to 4.85.
For how long?
1 year.
Bingo.
Okay.
And then we go back up, but it just gives you some momentum.
Yep.
So it's like a special?
Yeah. 2% rate reduction for 1 year. And there will be a flat cost to that. Like, hey, that's going to cost $8,700 or $5,275 or whatever the cost is.
All right.
What Gibson is saying, and I'll let you say it, is that...
Wait, real quick. Does that include my down payment? That's what that is.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it needs to be a certain number in order to get the 2-1 buy down. What's a 3-2-1?
3-year long product, and it starts with 3 points bought down in your
3
first year.
points. What's the 2?
The 2 becomes a 2-point buy down in the second year, and then year 3 it's only 1 point, and then year 4 you would inherit what the inception of your interest rate, like this hypothetical we're running, 6.85.
Yep. And
is
now
the risk that the interest rate could be lower and it's like tough titty, you're locked in on 6.
Sure, absolutely. Okay. But hey, this is a 3-year hedge. If you are optimistic like us that interest rates are going to come down, you have 3 years to make that bet on it.
And in theory, if it came down a ton or your value went way up, you might just refinance again at that point. There's cost to refinancing. You're always there's going to be some out-of-pocket cost or rolled into the rate. The point is, to Gibson's point, you're going to have 2 or 3 years in that scenario to sort it all out. And a lot of people are going, hey, this will save me huge right now, or this will get me my feet under me right now. What is unwise is to buy down a rate and you could only truly afford the house during the buy down period and you couldn't afford it later. Most banks wouldn't approve you in that situation, but sometimes people do that. That's unwise. Now, how are you getting this done with your buyers right now?
It's all seller credit funded.
So the seller is paying to buy down the rate for the buyer. I was waiting for Courtney to come into this. So who doesn't want that?
Ew!
And no hands went up. So, ooh, What do you mean? Ooh, glorious.
For sellers.
Yeah.
Yes.
But not even really. So here's the argument I would make. This is where bad agents just muck up the whole market. Okay. You know that when the market's like not perfect for sellers, there's some give and take that sellers are like, oh, I'll tell you what, I'll pay some of your closing cost. Or yeah, we'll repair more of the stuff to make sure you buy it. This is like saying, okay, well, how about you don't do that? Whatever money you're willing to give, just give it towards my mortgage. And then I'll have a $1,700 payment instead of a $2,300 payment, or I'll have a $3,000 payment instead of a $4,000 payment for the next couple of years or whatever. So we're just finding that somehow people, I say somehow, a lot of agents aren't that informed. A lot of consumers, aren't supposed to be that informed. They're not familiar with this because the last time they bought or sold, this wasn't a need or wasn't as common. We're finding people that are going, man, I used to think I wanted them to like pay a little bit of my closing costs, but now I'm realizing I get more value for that same dollar if they pay down my rate, right? Now there's a lot of ways you can look at that. I want to borrow less, I want to pay less, or I want to have a lower rate. Different scenarios for different people, but this is a tool that a lot of people don't know they could and should be using. And basically you're saying you're seeing this on a lot of your buyers?
Well, you have to understand the seller's position. They have to be reasonable in knowing that the buyer is dealing with the current interest rate market. That is the hesitancy of why they...
And the current home value market.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if values were 20% lower, the rates wouldn't be as stingy, right? Now, if rates were super low and the values were where they are, people would be more approachable. Everyone thinks they want low rates and low prices, but you don't want the world that brings that.
You're normally not buying if both of those
If
are
the
low.
rates are down in response to a bad market, and if home values are down in response to a bad market, that's a market where a lot of people are not confident to buy homes. They're like, oh, rates and prices are down, but I'm afraid I don't have a job tomorrow, or I've had to spend all my savings or whatever. So the reality is this is a pretty good market to be a buyer in. Is it the best ever? No, that would have been like the first time a home was ever built and it cost the price of lumber and you did it yourself. But if you're going to buy a house anytime between now and the end of your life, there's a good chance this may be your best option. We could be wrong, but there's no real sign of home values taking any real hard dips. In DFW, they really never have. We talked about that last week or a couple weeks back on the show where we talked about the only times in the history of DFW that home values have really dipped, and it didn't last very long. So how often are you getting the seller to pay for your buyer to have a lower mortgage rate?
I'm getting seller credit in every single deal, whether they ask
for it to buy down the rate or something else. 100% of your buyers over the last several months or this year.
Yeah, since August of 24, I have had seller credit and or price negotiations normally both.
Yeah.
On a buy side.
And they're using that for a mortgage rate buy down how often? Just ballpark.
I'd say 80% of the time.
Okay. So 80% of the time, this is across most of our team, but especially with Gibson, his buyer has a well below market rate. So let's just say 685 is what we use as an example. His buyers are getting 385 or 485 or 585 or something like that based on the way Gibson is negotiating that contract for them to buy. Now, that may be for 1 or 2 or 3 years, but then they have 1 or 2 or 3 years to find out if Patrick and others and us are correct in that. By the way, we're not saying we're causing rates to go down. We're saying based on the economic data and what the Federal Reserve is saying and what politicians and government entities and things like that are saying and doing, it looks like those rates probably not dramatically, but will come down reliably between now and the end of the year, between now and this time next year. Anything could change that. There's obviously political and wars and economic and stock market and all kinds of stuff going on, but that's what it looks like. That's kind of what's been indicated. So this is something people need to be aware of. So there's your mortgage update. That's what's going on in mortgage. Not a lot of change in rates, but actually a lot of change in consumer behavior. More mortgages being taken out, more refinancing being done than 6 months ago or this time last year. So there you go on the mortgage front. Now Redfin. Woo-hoo!
Todd's hot.
Listen. Redfin is basically a very well-known brand that has had many different business models over the last decade plus in the world of residential real estate. Virtually none of them have ever worked out. They've really never been much of a profitable real estate company. The thing they've done really well is they've built a great, now I would not suggest you use it, but they've built a really powerful online basically real estate website, what we now call a portal, where there's home searching, some mortgage quoting, some value tracking and things like that on their portal, kind of like a Zillow or a Realtor.com. We don't recommend any of those. If you're going to pick one of those, pick Realtor.com. Where real estate agents can buy leads and people can shop and get home values, and none of the data is all that reliable, but it's pretty functional. It's helpful. Some people like to use it. Now, Redfin, the point of us sharing this is Redfin over the last couple of weeks has just blasted this report everywhere that there are 500,000 more buyers than sellers in the current real estate market in the United States. That would communicate a massive lopsided market where buyers have leverage, sellers are kind of in trouble, and 500,000 more sellers than buyers. I said that backwards. 500,000 more sellers than buyers, where sellers are desperate, buyers have their choice, prices would go down, the market would be a mess. Let me say that again because I said it wrong twice, I think. 500,000 more sellers than buyers. So lots of houses on the market, not that many buyers that want them. That's the premise of this Redfin report. Let me ask you a couple questions, and we have not prepped for this at all, so I'm not leaving anyone out to dry. But Gibson, if you had to figure out a way to guess how many homes are on the market in the United States, how would somebody do that?
Just look at current inventory based on zip codes and
that data is public. It's on the MLS. The MLS data is out on Realtor.com and Zillow, and there's plenty of data aggregators that could just go, hey, pull all that and boop, here's the number. Give or take a few for sale by owners or off market, which is like statistically irrelevant. This is how many residential homes are on the market. That's probably pretty reliable data. If you had to count all of the active buyers in the United States right now, how would you go out and get that data really reliably?
In no way, shape, or form.
There's no freaking way to do that. And by the way, Redfin, small print way down low in their report said, there's no way to do that. We made up a way. Here's the way we made up. We basically chose a percentage based on the traffic on these home buying websites. We factored in the amount of homes that are actually selling, and we guessed wildly at how many buyers are in the market.
And then added every home that was on the market as a potential buyer as well,
basically
because every home seller buys.
They basically said everyone that's selling is a buyer, and everyone that's searching on the internet, a certain percentage of them are buyers, and people requesting mortgage, all these weird things we're guessing at the buy side. So the data's stupid. I mean, it's bad. The headline is that's what their job is to do, is to get eyeballs and website visits and get their name. And so I'm not even mad at him. I'm just telling you it's utterly unreliable. And the entire media planet has lost their mind. I got interviewed on local radio here in DFW, actually right here on WBAP on the James Show in the afternoon. And then I got asked to come back a second time because everyone's got a comment on, oh my gosh, this is outlandish. Really what it does is perpetuates bad information, leads people to make bad decisions, and puts people in bad spots with their homes and their finances. So, that's a lot of bad. So here's what I suggest. Ignore this stupid headline. Ignore this wildly inaccurate report that in the report tells you they're basically guessing. Now, I'm not saying people shouldn't guess. People shouldn't say, let's try to figure out what's happening in the market. But look, real estate is hyper-local. Courtney, what does that mean, that real estate is hyper-local?
That each market's doing its own specific thing.
Yeah. Not only, and by the way, each market could be your street or your end of your block.
It zooms in tight.
Your side of the block that has all the mature trees and is at the bottom of the hill and it isn't by the busy intersection is different than my side up top without the trees by the busy intersection. By all means, that's different than the other elementary school over there. And that's totally different than the other zip code. And that's wildly different from, even though we're only a block away, that's a different county with different schools and different taxing and different hospitals and all that. And of course, that's totally different than the other side of town, which is like way farther away from this side and the airport and the hospital and the major league sports. And, that's how hyper-local real estate is. Your house on your street, on the same side of the street as mine, because I'm your neighbor, has a different value. Because on the other side of your house is the neighbor with the loud dogs. And the other side of my house is the corner house with the big, beautiful lot and all the landscaping. Real estate is hyper-local. So when we start getting this like United States market has 500,000 more sellers than buyers, which we just announced is like wildly inaccurate. because it couldn't be accurate. Like, it could be right, but it would be based on a guess. It's not, by the way. But that would negate the fact that what's happening in New York is totally different than Florida, is totally different than California, is definitely different than Dallas, is totally different than Plano or Weatherford. So all of that to say, that is not the state of the market in DFW right now. Gibson, what do you feel like the state of the market in DFW is right now? Is somebody that's out there with a dozen active buyers at any one point, showing houses, writing offers, responding to counter offers. What's the feel? What's the vibe of the market right now?
I think it's super healthy. If you price right as a seller, you are gone quickly.
Okay.
1 week, 2 week cycle.
So when your buyers are out looking at a house and it's priced well, it's not going to sit.
Yep.
Okay.
It's gone.
What else?
Buyers have options. I've got 13 buyers right now. All of them have 3 to 4 houses that they would probably make an offer on, where I'm having multiple conversations with those listings agents saying, hey, let's
make it compelling.
Yeah, let's present something great, because, hey, you may be in Richardson, but they're also interested in a house in Plano, and now Plano and Richardson are the competition against one another.
Yep. Or there's 2 or 3 in Richardson. Hey, you're not the only dog in the game. I got multiple options. Okay. And then as far as pricing is going, what are your buyers seeing? Are prices going up? Are they going down? Are they flat? Are they getting good deals, okay deals, fair deals?
Buyers are getting incredible deals, and prices are coming down. I think the market is a true test for sellers of, like I said, if you are priced correctly, you are gone quickly. But if you are not priced right, the market is going to let you know.
Yeah. Let me go back to your first label. And then when we come back in the second half of the show, we got to do a little news, traffic and weather here in a little bit. Hang with us. We got more before that. But when we come back, you can just pick one. Pick a real life scenario for a buyer that's happening right now that's representative of others. And we'll just let people know this is exactly the type of thing that's possible for a buyer right now, which is I'll tease it. I'll hint. It's better than it's been for buyers since before COVID, since parts of 2019. Now we can talk about who that's true for and where and all that stuff when we come back later, but that's what's happening right now. Now, really quickly, if you don't have a summer fun guide, we want to give you one. I literally want to give you one. It cost me thousands and thousands of dollars. There's an awesome picture of our team on the front that you'll never care about as much as Courtney.
Cute.
You'll never care about that as much as Courtney. But inside that bad boy is a ton of tips and cool suggestions of where to go eat, where to go play, where to go cool off, where to take a road trip, all that stuff. Just go get you a free copy. ToddTremontiTeam.com. On the homepage, there's a banner that just says, get my free summer fun guide.
Speaking of being hyper local.
Oh, yeah.
We want you to enjoy your home.
Yeah, and this isn't like, hey, we stole some info from the Chamber of Commerce. This is like, hey, our crew is telling you we're our favorite. Like when we bring a buyer to the market and we introduce them to town and they're like, hey, where's the cool, unique stuff? That's what this is. Now, if you don't know your property value, listen, I care for you. I love you, but you're doing it wrong. If you own a property of any kind and you haven't checked the value in the last 30 days or you haven't set yourself up to get that value, go to ToddTremontiTeam.com, click the seller valuation button, and we'll give you your valuation for your home right now in under 60 seconds. Then you can choose to get that updated every single month. Get you an update on your market report. You could also request a cash offer. You could ask about selling or buying or investing or anything. No one's going to twist your arm or pressure you, but man, most people wait way too late to have these conversations. And you just can't start the conversations too early. Start it right now at ToddTremontiTeam.com. If you happen to spell that wrong, just Google Todd Tremonti, get as close as you can. There's over 800 5-star reviews you can check out, free reports, videos, blogs, past articles, radio shows, podcasts, all that stuff at ToddTremontiTeam.com. We'll be right back after that. In the second half, Gibson's going to tell you what's realistic in the market and what the heck it looks like for a real estate agent to have a wait list. We'll be right back right after this. Hey, Courtney.
Greetings.
What would it even mean for a real estate agent to have a waiting list?
I mean, I'm assuming it means you need to wait. I need to sell a few things. Okay. I'm busy. I've got more buyers than I know what to do with because I'm that awesome.
Ooh, I like the sound of that last part. Let's come back to this in just a second because I think Gibson, who's joining us, the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, buyer agent extraordinaire, Gibson Aguirre, is in studio.
Howdy, we're back.
Howdy. Courtney,
I think waxed by cash.
Waxed by cash. I think Gibson's too young for the reference that I opened this half of the show with, but I think you got it.
Okay.
When I said, "Hey, Courtney," what came to mind? Dang it.
Sorry.
Remember the Nickelodeon show, You Can't Say This on Television?
Yeah.
Where if you said, "I don't know," you got slimed?
Yeah.
Isn't that the show that started with them inside the lockers and they would be like, "Hey, Courtney," and then the locker would open and she would lean out?
Yes. It's just so niche. Like that is so deep in the Saturday morning archives.
That's the kind of movie, TV quoting I want you to grow to.
I know.
I'm here to mentor you and nurture you.
You always have.
You know, I'm a giver. That's what they say. Okay, folks, a market where you need to know things like that. Like how would a real estate agent have a waiting list and another real estate agent would be crying that mortgage rates are high and the market's terrible? Gibson, how are both of those things possible in the same city at the same time?
One word: value.
Okay, give me a few more words. I like it. That would be my leading word. But what do you mean by that?
I think the realtor with a waiting list has a plan, knows where he's going with clients. And
okay, let's break out of the hypothetical, because you said in the first part of the show you have 13 active buyers right now. We know that in the state of Texas, the typical agent will do 4 to 6 transactions per year. Depends on which source of data you look at. Most of those agents will do almost all buyers and occasionally a seller. You're unique in that you specialize in only working with buyers, and our team has others that specialize in sellers, and so they you work with a client together. They get 2 agents and a full staff. But so you currently have 3 to 4 times the amount of clients that most agents will have in an entire year, all right now. So you're one of them. You're an agent that, for all intents and purposes, has a waiting list, right? So if someone called you and said, "I'm ready to buy a house, ready to go," you might say, "Hey, I can sit down and do an initial meeting with you next week, and we could get you through the process of buying, that week or the following week." Sometimes your waiting list, your timetable may be a little bit longer. We're not saying that, a buyer has to wait a year to buy with you, but we're saying if you want to work with a true professional that's world-class at what they do, there's a process you follow, and sometimes it's not just like meet me at the house. Any agent that's willing to just run out and meet you at the house is either desperate for your business, or maybe you caught them at the perfect time. It doesn't mean they're all terrible, but most need you more than you need them. That's a very dangerous place to be with someone that's supposed to be a world-class professional helping you steward hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. So that's the waiting list thing. Now, how come other agents in the same market right now are begging for clients, leaving the business, taking other jobs, not renewing their license? Value? Same answer?
Value.
So that answer
Professionalism,
would be
delivering wins, and all these stories that I'm telling about. I
Yeah.
mean, that obviously brings up a conversation with somebody else saying, "Hey, go work with Gibson." It's not, "Oh, glad we're at the closing table. See you later, guy."
Yeah. Or I read 800 5-star reviews, or I listened to the radio show, I saw you on YouTube, or I saw you on television, or I got your mailer. This isn't us saying that we're special. I obviously think we are. I think we're the best real estate company on the planet. I train agents all over the country to do this. We're very deliberate in the size of team and who we hire and how we train them, and we make huge promises and we stand by them. And our trophies are our client success stories and not our ranking and how many homes we sold. That's not the game we play. But all that said, the vast majority of real estate agents right now hate this market. They're really upset about mortgage rates. They're waiting for the market to create opportunity for them, while you're over here, I won't say quietly, but kind of strategically going, "This is a great time to be a buyer with the Todd Tremonti Home Sales team. It's a great time to be a buyer if Gibson Aguirre is your agent." Now, if I could just create the perfect market, I'd probably lower rates and lower prices. But like we said earlier, I don't want the world that brings me that. So what's so good for a buyer right now?
You can basically ask for anything you want, I'd say.
You have leverage.
You have leverage.
Because what?
Because of high interest rates, the amount of inventory that's out there on the market in most cities that you're considering. And
so to translate that, there's a lot of houses to choose from. That's what high inventory means.
Yep.
High interest rates means there's probably not as many buyers competing with you, because they either can't afford it or they don't want to. They stay where they are because they don't want to do that. So if you're a buyer, you have less competition and more homes to choose from. And then there are some unique opportunities like we talked about earlier in the show. Rate buy down. Sellers are willing to do things for you, make repairs, give you some time to think about it. adjust pricing, pay for some of your fees, whether it's to lower your mortgage rate or to get you less cash at closing, things like that. So you got all that going on for you. What kind of deals are your buyers getting right now?
Ones that are totally waiving appraisal needs.
Okay, so explain that to Courtney.
What could that possibly mean?
Yeah, I needed a question from you to keep going here.
I mean, is
Courtney learns real estate.
Okay, my understanding is that an appraisal is for the bank to say this is how much we will loan you.
Correct.
And so if we're going no appraisal, that means I'm getting cash.
Cash. You did a great job with your definition. Just to be a little more technical, the bank hires a third-party appraiser, a neutral third party that's job is just to say, this is what it's worth. I don't work for any one person. My job is to say, this is what the asset is worth. The bank doesn't really care what they say. The bank wants to know, if I give you a loan, the house is going to be worth more than the loan I give you for it, which is why they'll let you borrow 80% or 70% or 90%. The difference is what protects them. Now, the appraisers on the deals you're talking about, Gibson, are not even having to go do an appraiser.
They don't even got to come out.
The bank is saying, we don't even need an appraisal. But I just said they do an appraisal to make sure that they're protected, that they're lending, they're giving a loan for less than it's worth, so that if someone didn't pay the loan and the bank had to take the property back, they would be protected that it's worth more than they had lent out on it. So what's happening in these scenarios that you're talking about, that the bank would say, we don't even need to do that?
Yeah, our contract price is already extremely favorable to what the neighborhood's selling for, and the bank and or Patrick Galeros in this situation is saying, hey, good job. You contracted this so low that it's automatically appraised.
Okay, so again, to translate, the bank then is saying, okay, we don't need to build in the buffer because you already built it in. You got the house under contract low enough that we think it's already worth enough, more than you borrowed. The gap between what you're paying and what we think it's worth is already plenty big enough. We can just tell based on the data we already have that we don't even need to spend the money or the time to send someone to check on that. And you're telling me this is happening once, twice? What's going on here?
3 times a lady.
Last time I was on the show, I talked about a appraisal that came back 30 over. The only reason it went to that process is because it was a VA buyer. So as we know, VA is a little bit more strict, but exact scenario, I don't have the sum of what that appraisal would have come back on this story I'm telling today.
Right.
Because
they didn't even have to have one.
Yeah, they didn't have to have one.
So it's happening more often than you've ever seen it before, right? It's happening pretty regularly that the bank is going, hey, Todd Tremonti Home Selling Team, Gibson, the agent, has negotiated for that client a contract. That contract is so favorable that we don't even need to check the value. That's happening fairly regularly right now. By the way, if you're thinking about buying a house right now, the phone number is 214-310-0008. And then if you want to speak directly with Gibson, you can ask for him. We have other buyer's agents on our team. Mari handles Fort Worth. We got David. We got Mark. We got Gibson. We got other folks here that can help you buy a home. Gibson is absolutely a killer. He's incredible. And you can ask for him, but you can also call and just say, hey, here's my situation. Here's where I am. Here's what I need. And we'll match you up with an ideal agent for you. All of our agents are full-time, fully committed, world-class, well-trained, incredible track record agents that want to hit a home run for you. Same thing is true on the sell side. We still guarantee to sell your home over the average price and under the average time. We'll connect you with the agent that's correct for you on that side as well. You cannot start that conversation too soon. Most people start it too late, and when they start it too late, they lose options, lose flexibility, lose opportunity. Call or text 214-310-0008, or you can go online anytime too.
ToddTremontiTeam.com.
Or you can just Google my name, Todd Tremonti. Don't even worry about spelling. Just get close enough. You'll find plenty of options. Fill out any form, text any phone number, call any phone number, click any button, whatever you're comfortable with. We're not here to twist your arm and convince you of something you don't need. But if you want to buy, this is the most attractive buyer's market we've seen in a very long time. It doesn't mean home values are tanking. It means buyers are getting pretty darn favorable deals right now. All things considered, prices and rates and all those things. This is probably the best time to be a buyer, maybe for the rest of your life. Certainly, based on what we know right now, it's a good time to be a buyer. It's also a pretty good time to be a seller, like you said, Gibson, if you're prepared, if you have a great agent, if you price it right, if you market it, if you prep it for market. We're still breaking records with our over-under guarantee. And on the buy side, we guarantee to save you at least $5,000 throughout the process. And you're talking 30 here and 50 here and 20-something there. So it's a good time to be in the market. If you have a plan, we offer you a free strategy session up front. Doesn't cost you anything. We'll give you 30 to 90 minutes of our time, usually in person, on Zoom if we have to. It's not best done on phone, but we can start on phone. 214-310-0008 or
ToddTremoneyTeam.com.
You can call, you can text, you can email, you can visit us online, you can Google us, Todd Tremonti. We're here to help. Now, Courtney, I know there's a part of town that you want to talk about because it's very, very popular. Which was that?
We need to revisit McKinney, Texas.
We do. We've talked about McKinney quite a bit, but it continues to be a highly desirable part of DFW.
Darling, and a lot is happening.
People love downtown McKinney. People love the big master plan communities in McKinney. They love the golf in McKinney. They love the schools and the community and the parks. There's a lot to love about McKinney, Texas. Now, Gibson, if I said McKinney to you, what are some of the items you're telling a buyer about or you're bragging to a buyer about on behalf of a seller?
Hutchins Barbecue. Oh, sorry. That was right on the top of my head.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying that. Your little chopped beef. You get you some of the banana pudding. By the way, if you get the chopped beef, you can have about all the banana pudding you want. It's kind of how they serve it on a little sidebar. Anyway, this is not a commercial for Hutchins, although Hutchins is the bomb. What else? When you have a buyer, they're like, we're thinking about McKinney. What's cool about McKinney? What would you tell them?
It's centrally located. Incredible. Mm-hmm. It's going to get you anywhere you can very quickly.
Yeah. So if you're on the Dallas side, it's north, right? So you're thinking north of Plano, north of Allen, but still within pretty good reach. Great highway access to go south, to go north, to go west. What else?
Craig Ranch. We've got a new approved JW Marriott coming.
JW doesn't mess around.
No, JW knows what he's doing.
Those are nice. Yeah, so the way I think about that part of McKinney is I was like, man, they do it right? So like the way those master plan communities are done, the entrances, the roads, the landscaping, it's beautiful. I mean, it's kind of this kind of hill country vibe, Craig Ranch, Yeah. You got the big stonework. You've got kind of open views, some rolling hills, but you can also get back in there and kind of get lost and forget that you're still in a huge city.
You get lost in the trees really quickly.
Yeah, I love that aspect of it. All right, other parts of McKinney, people obviously love downtown. Courtney, go ahead and tell us, if you're going to downtown McKinney, what are you doing?
Well, it's just you can make a great lap of shopping, and then there's
I bet you love a boutique with old stuff.
It's one thing, I was thinking it does a great job of giving me a ton to walk around and see and do. Whereas like Richardson's still trying to get there, Plano, like everybody's trying to redo their main downtowns.
Like Wiley and others that are like have some charm, but McKinney's got
and I'll go there to eat or whatever. But like McKinney, you can really spend the afternoon of parks and shopping and coffee and drinks.
They've got farm to table restaurants. They have bigger, better known restaurants. They've got pizza spots, little microbrewery setups,
wineries. They've got a deviled egg restaurant.
Yeah, I don't know that one's going to make it forever.
It doesn't
but
smell great.
I like deviled eggs.
But it's a very fine concept.
By the way, to the owners of that restaurant, we hope you're there for 100 years.
Me too.
If we can help you, let us know. But the point is this, there's a great steakhouse down there. There's some really cool older boutique type hotels. Okay, that's downtown. We've talked about that before. We really like it.
What's the update on the airport?
I was about to say, what about that airport, though? So the airport is a major factor, really, for all of McKinney, for the whole region, but certainly that east side. And the fact is, the airport has been approved for a new terminal. McKinney Airport has handled passenger traffic for a while, but not very much. This new terminal could make just a completely massive regional difference. And there's a lot of people that are going to roll their eyes here. But there was a time where Love Field was kind of a small, non-factor as far as like global transportation. DFW is obviously an international airport, but Love has really developed over that time. And now McKinney is starting to threaten that new McKinney Airport could be an old Love Field feel, where it's like, there's a lot of growth opportunity here, right? So the airport has approved that terminal. They've bought additional land. Businesses are already beginning to move and get permits to develop and grow and scale over there so that if this passenger service really takes off, and there's some legal stuff going on, there's not absolute certainty of what or how much. But if that happens, the peripheral businesses and development that will come with it could be really, really, really great. Again, that's east side. There's some legal stuff happening right now that could delay kind of that passenger service. There's already a lot of kind of industrial, commercial, small, passenger, meaning like you could fly your plane in and out of there. But when we say passenger, we mean like would an airline bring dozens or hundreds of people on larger planes. DFW's got a big terminal that's happening too. So that's kind of impacting McKinney a little bit as well. But that airport is a big deal. I think it will bring passenger service. I think it will bring more commercial business. I think that will bring more residential development. That will bring more development and commercialization of that area, which some people don't want.
Yeah, I was going to say, are people mad about it?
Yeah, people are mad about everything, but also people are thrilled about it. So I don't think anyone's going to stop it, but I think they're going to slow it. But ultimately, I think you're going to see
when you live close.
Listen, I can be on both sides of an argument like that in the same minute. I love land. I love large acreage property. I love trees. I love growing stuff. I love raising stuff. I also really like a cool urban area that I can take my family to dinner and walk over to entertainment and walk to a third place and get that coffee or ice cream or gelato or whatever. So we're all complex people with contradictory wants and needs. The reality is, if you're asking me what I think is going to happen in McKinney, one of the big factors is I think that McKinney Airport is going to expand. I think they are going to get more passenger service. I think that's going to lead to more commercial development, which is going to lead to more jobs, which is going to lead to more residential development. And that corridor that's been kind of sleepy, Northeast McKinney, Princeton, all the way out to Farmersville, is going to blow up. Now, by blow up, I don't mean it's going to happen overnight, but I think the next generation or two is going to be a generation or two of growth in that Northeast corridor. There's more to McKinney, though, than just downtown or Craig Ranch or the airport. Generally speaking, and people have different opinions about these things, people really like the schools. People really like the location. People like the opportunity for business and jobs. 20, 30 years ago, McKinney was kind of the suburb out to the north. It's become its own hub, and the development of Frisco has allowed, people will move to McKinney to work in Frisco or work in Colleyville or work farther out north or commute, of course, into Dallas. But there's more opportunity than just commuting down to Dallas or over to Fort Worth now. So lots going on there. What else comes to your mind, Courtney, when we talk McKinney?
Okay, well, what about this new resort?
Okay, well, resorts are incredible. So you've got the JW Marriott. You have some other kind of regional hotel stuff happening. You've got some incredible, lazy river type stuff, some where you may be in McKinney and still go to a resort like that, where it used to be that was just kind of only for out-of-towners. McKinney's kind of reached that point where there's some escapes locally.
Yeah, it's felt very Airbnb vibes. This feels like big.
The JW Marriott?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I said it earlier, JW Marriott doesn't mess around. 290 guest rooms, by the way. So this isn't like a tiny regional. 51,000 square feet of conference space. So that's going to be a huge draw. Frisco's been that way, kind of in that legacy corridor. So this JW Marriott will absolutely mimic, if not maybe outdo some of that.
Did you talk about the inventory?
No, we haven't gotten into some of the real estate stuff really at all. Fire when ready.
Well, just how many, we're at 3 months of inventory right now. So that makes it a seller's market, as they say.
I think it's statistically, that means sellers. We know behaviorally it's in that weird middle. I call it the murky middle, where on one street, I might say, nope, that's a buyer's market.
Yeah.
On this street, I'm going to go, that's a heavy seller's market. A lot of it is kind of hit or miss, give and take middle market.
Reminder that these numbers include January, which
and they include all
cold.
of McKinney.
Yeah.
Right. That's where real estate's hyper local. But go ahead. You got about a quarter of all the homes on the market in McKinney are brand new.
Yeah. There's a lot of new builds. 324 of the 1,200 active listings are new.
Yep.
So, okay. And then average sale price is increased.
Now, to be clear, this is from 2023 to 2024. That number's already changing this year.
Sure.
But we saw the price
Gives you
go
something to
up
work with.
10 grand over that time, the average. That was a market where most people said no home values were going up. Right?
I like an upward trajectory.
Well, if values went up $10,000 in one of the flattest markets we've had in a very long time, you know that McKinney's a healthy market. Right now, 2025, we're seeing average pricing in the 320, 330, 340. Now, if you took out the new construction and only focused on that, it would be higher. If you took out the new construction and focused on existing, it would be a little bit lower, but not much. Average sales price, 3-something is a safe thing to say. Now, a lot of our clients are still definitely buying in the 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s, and obviously McKinney has plenty to offer at the higher end, $1 million and above as well. So anyway, McKinney's a great place to buy real estate. I can't imagine anyone long-term regretting owning 1 or 2 or 3 homes in McKinney. I would be proud to raise a family in McKinney. It's a great place to visit. Check out McKinney, Texas. So lots happening all across DFW right now. Not just McKinney is interesting. We've been talking about different pockets in DFW for the last 10 years on this show. It's a heck of a place to live. A lot of corporate relocations right now. I did want to make a quick shout out, actually 2 quick shout outs to our real estate agent listeners and friends and viewers. 2 quick things. Number 1, we're looking to hire about 5 agents between now and the end of the year. If you have recently got your real estate license, you're thinking about getting your real estate license, or you have 1 or 2 years of experience and things aren't working out quite like you had wanted, if you're looking for mentorship, training, leads, technology, a heck of a lot of fun and a really purposeful place to work, just go to toddtremonteteam.com and click that careers button or the careers tab or the join the team button. And we would be glad to talk to you about maybe joining our team. We take full-time people only. We're obsessive about training. We will invest a ton in you. And our expectation is that you work really, really, really hard for our clients and friends in the marketplace. Also, if you're a real estate agent of any experience level, we host an annual conference where we train and equip real estate agents, not just us. We bring in guest speakers, authors, some really, really cool stuff. We partner with another really incredible real estate technology platform called Real Geeks. The conference is the Real Growth Summit. You can check that online at realgrowthsummit.com. September 15th and 16th, right here in Dallas, actually in Richardson. 2 days jam-packed with how to grow your business, how to build your best offense and defense for the real estate market of the future, how to specialize and deliver world-class value. That's what we work hard on every single day. We'll share what we've got, bring in other speakers, and share that with you as well. So if you're a real estate agent, you're looking to join a great team where you can spend the rest of your career growing personally, professionally, and using your God-given gifts and talents to share that with the world, go to toddtremonteteam.com, click that Join the Team button. If you're not necessarily thinking about joining the team, but you'd like to learn and grow, check out realgrowthsummit.com and grab a ticket. While they're in early bird pricing, you can actually buy one and get one free, all under $600 right now for a great 2-day event with an absolute guarantee that if you don't love it, you get your money back. So for questions about any of that, go to toddtremonteteam.com. That's toddtremonteteam.com. Check out Patrick Glaros, Republic Title, Goosehead Insurance, and Trinity Home Advisors. We'll talk to you on the next one.